Before this video starts, I want to let you know I had a little bit of trouble with my microphone. It's not too bad, but it can be a little annoying. My apologies. I promise I will do better next time. Hey everybody, today I am on a serious plant rescue mission. I've got containers that look really terrible, but I think with a little bit of technique and a little bit of time, I can get these looking really good again. Now this is going to be part of a longer video where I'm going to do start, middle, finish type of thing. But today I'm just going to show you the front end because that's where we're at right now. And I think it's important that you see this now because by the time that video comes out, it might be too late for your baskets. So this is a really good time for you to be seeing this video because Mother's Day was what? For me, it was 10 days ago. Might be a little bit later when you get to watch it. And usually it's at that 2 or 3 week mark when people notice a drastic decline in their containers. And so this is some ways that I would use to kind of correct some of those issues that I might start noticing. So let's jump right in. I've got a couple different things going on here. So I'll get started. Maybe I'll start with this one right here. So although this container has some attractive little flowers on it, overall it's not doing well. Notice that it has a lot of very yellow leaves, and then just in general, a lot of the leaves are just a little bit more of a yellowy color. It's not a lush green, very spindly growth. It's just not looking that great. And that, you know, they had some that were looking better, but I picked the one that was ugly because I figured I'm going to take on this challenge. If you're in the store and you see one like this, don't pay full price for this. Like, it better be on deep discount because you should not have to do the work to get this looking good. If you're going to pay, this was $19 for this, and they had a bigger one that was like $32. If you're paying that price for these things, they should be looking a lot better than this. And the idea with these, they're called drop-ins or something like that. And the idea is that you just take this and you can put it into your container. I'll show you what I mean. So like if you had a container like this, I've got this little pot here that I put in here as a little riser so that this will set on it, and then you just drop it in. And the thinking is that you're going to have this beautiful container. You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to plant it. You just take care of it in this pot, and it's supposed to look fantastic. Under normal circumstances, I'd like to think that's the case. But what I want to tell you, first of all, is I'm going to start just by trimming this back. I need to just restart this whole thing. I don't want to have to try to, you know, fiddle with it or anything like that. So I'm going to get my little snips. I'm going to sanitize them with my alcohol. So I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see me cut off these blooms, but I think it's going to be for the best for me to do this just because we need to just get this thing refreshed. We want to start anew with this. So this one here, let's see, I don't even know how many plants are in here. So we're going to get a sense of what all is in here. I'm cutting them right back. I am not holding back. I'm not being careful with this. This thing needs all the help it can get, and starting over is a good thing to do. So when I look at this, looks like we have a yellow calibrachoa, and then we have, this is a petunia here. This is two more petunias. So it looks like there's 3 petunias and 1 calibrachoa. I'm not really sure. The good news is when I'm looking in here, I'm seeing some new growth in here. So these plants are ready to kind of take off. They just need some help. You didn't necessarily have to trim it, but I think it's going to make a difference in the long run. So, and then we're seeing all these yellow leaves, and that is just a nutritional issue. So we need to get some fertilizer in this thing. So I know this is probably painful to watch, but eventually it's going to look a lot better. Now, I also have these hanging baskets. These are the original wave petunias, and they're just so like leggy and long, and they don't have a great shape going for them. They're just not very happy. And same thing with this one over here. And you know, we need to kind of bulk these up. Well, what these really need is probably a good dose of fertilizer. That's going to encourage some growth up here. But I also feel like what could also help them is by trimming them back. We're going to force some energy into the middle. But I want to see just what the difference in those will be. So I'm going to leave this one here alone and just give it lots of fertilizer. This one here, I'm going to trim back the same way, but I'm just going to trim it just to the edge of the pot. So we'll leave, you know, plenty in the middle there. But I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. And one of the problems with the original wave was the fact that it does tend to be very flat. It can get a little leggy. The more modern waves, especially like the easy waves and E3 and some of those other ones that they have out there, the more common ones nowadays, they tend to be a lot better at this. They don't have these giant kind of issues that we see with these original waves. But the original wave is still popular, and it can still bounce back. Like when it's doing well, it looks really good, but it does have a tendency to do that flatness thing. It does tend to kind of just get a little weird. Now this has been in the greenhouse, so I've got a lot of spent blooms that are in here. Normally you don't have to do much deadheading with the waves, or it's optional. I'm going to clean up a little bit of these here too, because I don't want those dead blooms in there. So, I mean, we just have a really basic, plant here. I think, what is it? It's 2-wave petunias in here. So now what I'm going to focus on is fertilizing. And I'm going to use a water-soluble fertilizer. I'm going to really go heavy on my fertilizer. So I'm going to mix it the way the container or the fertilizer recommends, but I'm going to fertilize a lot more often. So normally I'd say, hey, fertilize these once a week, you'll be fine. I'm probably going to be fertilizing these maybe every other day, just for the first couple days, and then I'll get them on that regular schedule. A lot of times if you give them that really big burst of fertilizer, they really bounce back. So this is a bit of a massacre. I'm just going to stick these in here for now. And I know it's painful to watch, but in this situation, I just want to know, how much that trimming is going to help. Am I going to see results faster by trimming it back? Or am I going to see results faster by just adding the fertilizer to the kind of stringy one? And am I going to get that growth coming from the middle? We'll find out. Remember, this is a wave. Each plant kind of behaves a little bit differently, but this will give us, I think, a good sense of what could be happening out there. So what I'll do is I'm going to mix up some fertilizer. Today I'm going to use this Beat Your Neighbor fertilizer. I had picked this up last year and I hadn't got a chance to use it. So I'm going to use it now this year on these particular plants. I want to give it, they're out of Crivets, Wisconsin. So I've met them before, that over at Sharky's greenhouse. Great people, and their hanging baskets are just phenomenal. So it comes with this little scoop, and so the scoop is 1 scoop per gallon. So I got a 5-gallon bucket here, and a lot of times I'll put a little bit of water in there and then drop it in, but I think I'm fine to just put it in. So there's one. I think I'm going to go 4 gallons for now, because I have some other things that I can fertilize while I'm at it too. So there we go. This is number 4. So you can see it's not using up a ton of this stuff. So it goes a long way because of that. So we've got our fertilizer in there, and now I'm just going to add some more water. And I'm not going to worry about being like super precise with my measurement. I just don't want to have it too strong. I definitely don't want it too weak as well. So we're going to let that fill up, get to about the 4-gallon mark, and then I'm going to water these in. So as you get used to using this fertilizer, you'll be able to tell by the color if you've got it mixed to the right quantity. This is my first time using it, so I might have it too thin, too thick, but we'll find out. I'm going to be using it pretty regularly. I'm putting in a whole 4 cups into this, just in probably more water than I needed, but it's going to be fine. Yeah, it's dripping out the bottom. So I don't usually water till it comes out the bottom. I'm just so excited to show you guys this, that I'm not paying close enough attention. So this one's really light. So I'm going to actually put only half as much in, and then I'll go back in and make sure that it's absorbing. So half of it in that one, half of it in this one. So we'll see what that does. Let's see. Yep, that can probably hold some more water. So a lot of times, you want to wait about 10 minutes or so, but it seems like it didn't start coming out the bottom right away. So we'll just put that a little bit more in there. Come back to that later. So let me get these out of the way, because I have some other updates to show you on some of the other rescues that I had. So I had bought 2 wave baskets, or no, I bought 1 wave basket and turned it into 2 baskets. That was about 10 days ago. Just wanted to show you how those are doing. So these are wave petunias, and I had the 2 different colors. Definitely this blue color is bouncing back a little faster than this salmon color, and that's the case with both of them. So it just might be maybe this blue just is a little bit more vigorous, or it's just happier than this other one. But hopefully eventually they'll catch up. I mean, I could try to trim it back, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let them do their thing. I'm going to give them, they don't need a lot of water, but I'm going to give them a little bit of fertilizer right now, but definitely not as much fertilizer, because I don't want to overwater these. So, but at least they'll get a little bit, and then I'll check on them again over the next couple of days, give them a little boost. And when I was talking about those yellow leaves, now usually that's a sign that it does need fertilizer, but in some situations, like for us, like when we get chlorosis like this, which is these leaves with this bright yellow veining, that is a sure sign that our pH is off right now. So we've been watering with too high of a pH, and that's the natural state of our water. So we do add acid to our water to bring it down. But obviously, when we were getting to this point with these, we didn't have it quite right. So what we do for these to counteract that is we add some iron, and the iron will then counteract that high pH that we have. So I'm going to show you what my sister usually does is she puts the iron actually on this side of the tag. It works out really well for her because then she can always double check to see which one she did and didn't do. Sometimes if you do it right down the middle, you don't, you miss. And so she likes to really keep track because she doesn't want to put too much iron. She uses these little pellets from High Yield, but I'll show you what it looks like in here. So let's see, when you go in here and then we look, she just pops it down. Those little white crystal things are the little pellets that she uses. I think she uses, I'll put on the screen I'll ask her what she puts in for like a plant this size. But she's really careful with it. She doesn't overdo it. She does find that the iron does diffuse throughout, and she does have some liquid iron that she's used before, but it kind of comes out looking blood red. So she's like, you got to be careful. Like, you don't want to get it on the blooms. You don't want to get it like on your pots and things like that, just because everything ends up looking like there was a murder scene, she said. So that's kind of what she does there. I have one other basket that I'm going to show you. This one, clearly, this is the next one I'm going to show you has to look worse before it looks better. So this one was that mini Vista basket that I had found, and let's see. So it had more blooms when it started. It lost all those blooms. Some of them didn't get knocked off yet. But the good news is there are tons of new growth nodes in here, new buds starting. I think within the week, we're going to see a whole new flush of flowers on here. What that's telling me is that it's doing the work down below. It's growing down below, and it looks like this one may have already started reblooming a little bit. So I'm looking forward to this one. It's definitely happier in this pot, and the growth has been fantastic. It's just really full, and it has gotten a little bit bigger. Eventually, it's going to start hopefully going over the edge of this pot. But for right now, I'm happy to see that it's still growing. I'm going to give this one a little fertilizer too. So this one is a self-watering pot, so it has a reservoir underneath, but I'm gonna keep watering it from here. This isn't a self-watering pot where I can go through and like add it through any kind of channel or anything like that. It just takes on extra water from below. And one thing I did notice is that I do have kind of some not so nice leaves under here. I don't always clean these out, but sometimes if they're really slimy, I like to get rid of them just because, hey, that's probably better for the plant. I mean, a lot of times you don't even notice it, but since I'm here and I'm doing it, I'm going to do that anyway. But this one's coming together, and oh, it's kind of interesting because these mini vistas are starting to root kind of farther out, which is good news because I don't mind them rooting there. So you know what? This is the last time I'm going to be pulling out these mildewy ones, only because I don't want to pull the roots out when I do that. So let's let it root all the way to the edge because I think the more root space it has, the better it's going to do. So anyway, I wanted to give you this update. Keep an eye out. I will have updates on this whole thing. I'll have one video that goes start to finish on all of these so you guys can get a sense of what my rescue techniques have been and which ones work. Curious to see if we can bring this one back without any trimming. If in a couple weeks I'm not seeing new growth from the center where it's filling out really nice, I will hack that one back as well. I think it's a good idea for me to just see which technique actually works because we've used both and both have worked. But I want to know which one's faster and which one actually looks best in the end, because when you commit to one way or the other, you never really know how it was going to be otherwise. So anyway, just thought I'd share this stuff. If you're having trouble with your baskets or if they're not looking as good, remember, you do need to give them that water-soluble fertilizer. That Miracle Grow is a good one. This Beat Your Neighbor one, Proven Winners has one, Jack's has one. These are all very good varieties. Just follow the instructions on the container. You can go more frequently than what they say if you really need to give them a boost, like if they're looking a little bit rough or they need that extra. But otherwise, doing it once a week or once every other week is going to be probably fine. You're going to have a really good looking basket. A lot of people like to go every other week. Other people like to go every week because they know they won't miss it, because sometimes when you skip weeks, you can kind of get a little confused by that. So anyway, I'm talking in circles here, so I better stop, let you guys get back to your baskets, get them looking really good, and hey, I'll see you guys all in the next video.